You're listening to the Fear in the Southwest podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Fear in the Southwest channel. Today I'm joined by Alan and Brendan. And today's topic, we're going to talk about one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world.
Which one?
Oh, the pyramids.
Pyramids?
Yeah, the pyramids.
Okay. Yeah.
So, Brendan, what were you taught about the Great Pyramid?
That they were for holding the bodies of their pharaohs, basically final resting places and just tombs.
And all their money.
All their gold and their cat.
But, yeah.
And their cat.
The gold
can't forget the cat.
Yeah.
God, man, we can't forget the cat and the gold. Sir, where would you like to put that? In a tomb. Make the
Do you
tomb
really
huge.
have to mummify your cat with you?
Yeah, I mean, let's make the tomb like way oversized.
Maybe a dog, but a cat's not a man's best friend.
Especially back then. Alan, what do you know about the Great Pyramids?
Once again, like they were made with like incredible ingenuity and like mathematical knowledge that they really shouldn't have had at that period in history. So I think we really have to look into exactly how they managed to build the pyramids in the way that they did. I know how they moved some of the stones. I know how they got them there, but how they were able to get this mathematical knowledge in Bronze Age, how they were able to electroplate gold on everything.
Yeah, that's that brings us.
And why they did it, though.
And why
I think that's gonna be a big mystery to this day. Is why I don't think any of us could really understand why, what their real purpose was, and how they did it. Like in school, I learned, the Great Pyramids. Very detailed mathematical buildings, very calculated, took a long time to build, heavy stones. Mm-hmm. You're not thinking modern day machinery.
They had to create giant ships to go like far afield to find the perfect stones, because they demanded like the perfect stone size. And then they would have to move them by basically covering them in plaster that would protect them, plaster that made out of egg and honey and a little bit of acid, and it would protect them for the trip. And then when they were put in place, the only way that I can imagine they did it was to actually sand it down so that it becomes even dust proof. That's how well they put these buildings together.
Very detailed. And you're talking a pyramid, 146.7 meters or 481 feet tall, and 138.8 or 455 feet cubic. That's not right. I wrote that down wrong, but it's okay. It's just 481 feet tall. We're just going to call it 481 feet tall. The base, that's what I was looking for, the
10
base.
10 tons
756 foot base.
From 10 tons to 50 tons?
50-ton stones. Where do you find rocks that size? And shape
how did they... as I said, I think they were shaped sort of in place. That's how I'd imagine it would have to work.
Well, and I mean, how long it would take them to build that for their pharaohs when the pharaohs didn't even live that long to begin with either.
Constructed 2,580 to 2,560 BC. So literally a 20-year period of being built.
So, say for King Tut's tomb, they would have had to start before he was even born to prepare that for him.
Theoretically, yeah. And where did they get that idea? Back in, that's basically all we were taught is well-made structures, stones, heavy tomb, protects their gold. You got some elaborate, what is it, hypoglyphics?
The hieroglyphics.
Hieroglyphics, yeah.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
the tombs inside this pyramid. I don't know. So I'm gonna throw something at you guys. Now, maybe y'all have heard the new theory, maybe not. That maybe the pyramid was more than just a tomb and a sanctuary and a journal. Maybe it was something more. What if I told you guys maybe it was also a powerhouse?
Powerhouse?
Like a powerhouse.
Okay.
Like, this thing not only is, in Egyptian times, badass building. Like dang, that's huge.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a glorified giant tomb. But what if I also told it generated power?
Oh, okay.
What for?
Well, you ever wonder how maybe they gold plated their tombs with technology of that day? That requires
electroplating.
Electroplating.
Yeah.
Where do they get electric?
Well, and if they were that advanced, what happened? Why did we fall away from that then? If that was going on then, we should be way more advanced now.
That's one of the mysteries of it. Why did that whole civilization disappear?
It really just... all these civilizations did. The Incans, the Aztecs, they all disappeared.
All these great civilizations just vanished.
Yeah, after they created these massive
amazing structures. And we're just now getting into the idea of, the material inside the pyramid is electric conductive.
Yeah.
It can conduct electricity. They found copper wire in a hidden tomb that they haven't been able to access for years just because of the lack of technology. And it makes you really wonder, how did they gold plate their stuff? You can't. It's not like they smelled it and melted and poured it on there, and they had to build the tombs because of their size inside the pyramid. They used the pyramid to make the tombs.
It's not just gold covered, like items. This is
plated.
This is plated, like perfectly plated. So yeah, they would need electrical energy, and to manipulate the metal in such a
distinguished manner.
Yeah,
it's very distinctive.
Yeah, because everything's like perfectly measured.
Now,
certain amount of thickness for the plating.
And another thing to support this power, it generates power. Is it was right by the Nile River. When it, early night, like huge. There was water running under it. By it, they were using water to transport.
There are tombs in the valley of like the kings. There are tombs there for all types of pharaohs, and for all sorts of religious purposes. But the pyramids dotting the Nile are the ones that are most important to Egypt. And they're the ones we don't know what they're for,
And we also learned about, they found the channels right by the pyramids where they were transferring. Apparently they used boats to carry the rock, like you said. They also had boats near the mortuary.
It'd have to be a pretty well-built boat.
Now tell me,
big boat.
Today's world, how a dam works.
The
running water generates electricity. Maybe it's a different idea for them in their time, is using literally just the energy of the water and the stones, limestone stuff that they built it with as a natural conductor. So it's feeding out this energy, and apparently there was a gold cap on the top.
There was even Parthenon batteries and copper wiring and brass wiring
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
all signs
that were
point.
hidden in a chamber that we didn't even know about 10 years ago. So
That just points out that this civilization was much more advanced than we initially thought.
But going back to where all the great civilizations that just disappeared, should we be more cautious though looking into this, and if we figure it out, what's going to happen to us too?
Maybe this is one of those mysteries that we shouldn't be digging into.
I think this. I don't know. I there are like little clues that have been left by those civilizations, like each and every one of them.
Now, this
Little
also
clues. And
pokes the question.
They also did. I mean, we have to bring up extraterrestrials, right?
Okay, that's why who showed them this? Where did they get this? Where did they just figure this out?
Why
Yeah.
does the whole
Now,
outside of the...
Let me throw this at you guys. When they built the pyramids, obviously they had the greatest architects of the time design it, build it, and place it. Now,
Where did they get the knowledge?
where did they get this knowledge? Where it was like their blueprints? Where's those blueprints? Second, if you look at it, this is the best structure in the entire world to date, perfectly built with true north, true south, perfectly. And it's like centered. It is like in a very,
it has to
very
be.
specific
It's an
spot of the world.
electromagnetic conductor. If it's an electromagnetic conductor.
Exactly.
Right?
It is in a very specific spot.
Yeah.
How did people of that time figure that out? They didn't even know what the whole globe looked like.
Well,
As
aliens.
far as they were
That-
concerned, it ended. It was just cut off once you got too far.
I mean, flat earthers, anybody?
Yeah. That's amazing.
But
The Egyptians went extinct, and there's still fucking. The Egyptian Empire just ended, and they're still flat earthers. Ugh.
okay, so that
Also, the
Are we
Egyptians
saying-
also had. They also had medical knowledge that they shouldn't have had at that time.
and you see some of they were saying there was images like they found in the I can't
Hieroglyphic.
hieroglyphics. It looks like a guy holding the light bulb on a stick, and then they found it looks like wire and like a giant light bulb, and like a
the
conducting post right in.
astronauts and the astronauts, the giant astronauts.
Which would maybe signify our alien extraterrestrial theory of maybe they knew stuff that they didn't, showed them or directed them, and then left.
Yeah,
As kind of a way to-
angels in the Bible would be the same thing, an extraterrestrial, right?
So what
A
if
non-human being.
what if the
of that
pyramid
time.
was just like a beacon for the ships, for the extraterrestrials to come down, and then that's the reason they had it
Like
where they had the electric for it.
sort of like the characters left in like crop field, like
So
left
if
in
we're
crops and
looking at a wonder of the world that we now discovered generated electricity on its own, naturally. The Egyptians knew how to utilize it.
yeah.
They understood its power.
Mhm.
And we're talking a civilization that we thought didn't have that kind of power.
Well, we knew that's what makes it so fascinating, is because they had all of these like evolutionary advantages with all this information, but they still didn't quite like get there, you know.
I think they
to actually utilize the buildings that they were trying to create.
Maybe they just didn't have enough time. But I think for their time period, they excelled.
They definitely excelled. But, they had all that power, but yet the way that they lived, why not live bigger if you have that kind of technology?
Then again, look how much time it took them to build the pyramids.
Supposedly taking them that long, though.
I mean, we really don't have, a set stone date. That's how long it took. There's no definitive I don't think any of us have a real answer. I think there was a journal that was discovered that kind of gave a little more details on how the pyramids were built, and that's when we discovered they were building special boats to haul these 50-ton rocks, which is another thing.
They also showed things that look like railway systems.
They had like a canal system for delivering the stone. They had this very systematic, almost factory-like.
The Bufu boat, yeah, and the Khufu boat, and then there's the
there was delivery
like
channels
Tesseract
all around the pyramid. Like they just by boat. Think about that. It's a place covered by sand right now. By boat.
They had the Tesseract and Terrace, in the time of ancient Greece.
And another thing, how did they build a boat strong enough to carry 50 tons?
It would have to be a huge boat.
Well, that's what Tesseract and Terrace is, a giant barge, a war barge, essentially.
So not only are they're building big pyramids, big structures,
but they also have the time to build big boats.
They're building big boats, they're designing the whole process.
And this is
from the material to the transport to how they're transporting it. And you gotta imagine at that time they probably had to be very specific on what stones and at what time they're bringing in.
In the Incans, they made these giant ziggurats in the middle of the jungle with stones they didn't have.
Where did they get this material?
And they made the most amazing quartz crystal skulls of all time. Those were incredible. I mean,
yeah.
And also,
mind-blowing.
Talk about an incredible tool for electromagnetism.
And not to mention,
the crystal skulls are quartz.
I think we also forget to mention,
quartz.
We talk a lot about the stones, and the material they use is very much very conductive for electricity. They found copper wire, so maybe that's how they electroplated their tombs. They had to. Those nice tombs did not look like that without electroplating. They just couldn't. Where did they get the electric power? Now, we talk about the stones a lot. What about the mortar? Scientists to this day still can't get the gypsum mortar like it was then. They still can't. Yeah. Stronger than the stones. And you gotta imagine that pressure of holding... What,
50 tons?
Over 50-ton stones, and you're talking a ton of them. Holding the thing together.
When you stack one on top of the other, if there's too much dust, it doesn't sit quite right.
It's very specific.
Someone puts their hair down, it's not gonna sit right. And if you set it down in scuffs, it'll never sit right. So I mean, this is just
very specific.
The logistics of actually having to do this, undertake this for 20 years.
Do you think modern day could replicate that?
Probably not. I mean, there's stuff from the 1800s is built out of rock and stuff. That's all falling down. Everything else that we have built falls down, but those...
We're talking a structure that survived earthquakes, and that's why the caps and it doesn't look as pretty as it used to. And the limestone, this thing used to be smooth and was generating power from the sun, moving water. I'm sure if it got hit by lightning, it collected that energy. This thing is just a powerhouse.
Well, I mean, it would have just collected a lot of that static through the ionosphere, right?
Yeah, and then not to mention its location.
Just the rumbling in the stone underneath the stone.
That's enough. You're talking a lot of weight, creating friction and power. And the thing is still standing.
Yeah.
From their mortar, that mortar withstood all that.
I mean, I kind of wishing we can go back and interview the architect. Like, how did you figure this out? Because some of our architects of today, forget about it.
I mean, on the hieroglyphics they show large human type looking bodies with almost what look like astronaut helmets, and then they have other giant people but not as large. And they were they were lifting stones and working in some of the hieroglyphics. And then they
how does humans lift 50-ton stones?
They also, I don't know how they would have done that.
Especially to the top?
When you when you get there, oh man, I can't even imagine.
I'm like, how?
Because you set the stone down, it'll never sit the perfect way again, you know? It's that
Like,
big.
you can't. There's no mistakes to be made in this building at all. One mistake is catastrophic. The whole thing. Were they that perfect? Or is there something they know that we don't? Or was there another force there helping them?
What happened to the other force if there was?
They left? I mean,
They left after they all went extinct, or did they make them go extinct and then left? Like,
did these species?
did we piss them off, or
Was that why
I
they
think
disappeared?
I think we were no real good to them. I think maybe they were like, let's push them forward a little ways, and then when we come back, they'll at least have something to offer.
Give them
Right?
a push start, and then
Yeah.
see where they go with it.
Yeah, like a Bronze Age, like perfect pyramid.
That just it's mind boggling. It truly is.
I mean, they seem to leave themselves messages on the ground, like the Nazca lines. Those go on for, miles and miles. Giant animals made out of stones that no one even knew were there until you saw them from above.
So, what do you think now? Knowing that, what do you really think the pyramids are for?
I honestly think that it could be for the extraterrestrials who came to visit and would help them, give them the technology. I think that that they just wanted somewhere for their spaceship. I think it's more of like a charging station for a ship.
Ooh, generating power for the ship.
That's an interesting idea.
Check like a service station for a UFO. When we just fly over there, go right over the point where it's gonna generate power. And
Maybe they put all this gold in these people's, or in these tombs, and Chinese tombs, or the pyramids, or the ziggurats. They fill them with gold. Indian tombs. They fill them with gold because that is one of the most rare substances in the universe. And it's very useful. Gold is very useful.
And how could all these different cultures and everything, how could they all have stuff in common? They had no way to even know that others existed back then. Yeah. So there had to be some kind of extraterrestrial stuff. Why would the Aztecs have the pyramids there too?
It really has been described in every culture.
Yeah.
They have been described in every culture.
So with that being said,
It's like,
the common ground here is aliens.
Yeah.
It had to be aliens.
Yeah, well. No, that's just where it went. That's where the conversation went.
But it's because I don't think anyone can give an absolute 100% logical to any of these questions. We don't know. We weren't there. We don't fully grasp. We're getting bits and pieces from science that it generated electricity. That's how they that's how they gold plated. They have copper wire. They had where it was built was like in the perfect spot. There was so much detail into this that you what you learn in school. It fails to enlighten you on how detailed it really is, down to the mortar they used, the location of the build, what was surrounding it, how they got the material, building the vessels to move these material. How did they lift 50 tons?
Well, and another one too that's kind of off from the Egyptians, but for the Aztecs with their pyramids, it's lined up perfectly just like the solar system. How did they know what the solar system would look like?
Yeah, that's
another one right there.
It's a star map. That's what Stonehenge is. From above it, it's a star map.
and it's like precision accurate.
I think the pyramids are much more than just tombs.
There's a lot of secrets in those
there's
places.
stuff we haven't seen and those that we haven't explored, that we haven't had access to. And if we have access to it,
They
do we
put their
fully
secrets
understand
in
it?
these places. They put their secrets in these places. They put their treasures in these places, and they trusted that people wouldn't be able to get into their treasures. So they have there's a lot of ingenuity, that they just shouldn't have. And I mean, some of these buildings, like in Uruk or Akkad in the Mesopotamian period, I mean, those were Neolithic. Those were Neolithic buildings that they couldn't have made, but they did.
It's just like, how? There's always that how, why, for what purpose. So what do we think we can gather from it? We're sitting in the end times of 2018, going into 2019. What do we take away from this find?
I think if it's even possible to try and just copy maybe the design of it and try to make our own energy source from learning from that we don't have to use the fossil fuels and everything. I think it could help push us forward, but I also think that we should be careful with it, because
it is really, we have other powers too, like magnetic power.
Yeah.
That we can use.
Yeah, we use
fossil fuels are going to choke the planet, kill it, wipe ourselves off of it. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe this was them sort of giving us a push ahead, saying maybe you don't have to fucking dig up all the.
Yeah, stop burning up the fossil fuels.
Yeah.
So we could take from this that they're more sophisticated than we gave them credit for. They got some sort of source that we don't understand. They had to.
Mm-hmm.
That's not stuff that even we figured out until years and years of studying, exploring,
and we still don't fully get it.
And we still don't get it. I don't think we really got even 50% of the story.
But I mean, we will. I'm 95% sure we'll figure it out within the next 10 years, and
Do you think we're really gonna find it next year, the whole story, or do you think it's purposely?
It could be purposely, because I mean we're not over there doing it ourselves, so we can't ever fully be sure. But if it does come out, the full purpose of it, and we're able to use that energy, I think we should try to be more like them.
I can see it now. A pyramid with solar panels.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not even just a.
It had solar panels essentially.
Yeah.
The polished stones reflected; they were solar panels.
Essentially, yeah.
And it helped insulate it.
Yeah, perfectly. It's crazy.
So, they're way more sophisticated than initially we learned.
I just don't even know how you would start to undertake this unless.
I want to know with our architect.
I want to go over there and find out myself.
I would, if I go back and interview the guy and be like, so how did you come up with these plans? Where did you get this information from? Who's the chief designer? Who's your boss?
Well, and then there's also that whole theory of the time travel.
Ooh, he went there. I was just about to throw. Do you time travel?
Yeah,
I've heard this one too. Like someone goes back.
I've thought maybe that it was that. Yeah, instead of it being aliens, it's just time travelers, humans going back to fix human issues.
But doesn't that create with time travel like that vortex? You go back in time, change history.
So maybe
come back in the future. how does it not change?
So, but
Or
and
it could
why?
be extra dimensional travel rather than from one planet to another? It would just be different versions of this planet.
Planet leaping.
Yeah.
Well, and still, why did they just disappear? Still, that doesn't explain that part. Because if
I don't know if
they're-
they go with their heads.
if people-
maybe they're in freaking like Atlantis.
If we were able to time travel back there, give them that technology from whenever in the future that we had it, then why would they go extinct if we gave it to them then? Why are we not more advanced now? What?
See, that's the whole time travel is like if we went back, from the future, if we came from 2018, went back to the pyramid times, and that supposedly changes the whole course of history.
Yeah, I don't know.
How does that not affect where we are now? Or was did this time travel happen at like just a very specific point? Like it already knows like what's supposed to happen, and then implements it, and then comes back. You imagine time traveling if we went back in time with like the consequences of like, let's say we went back to like the Western times, the pioneer days, and the cowboys, and you drop your cell phone and left.
There are
What would happen?
impossible objects
Yeah.
out there. There are some impossible objects like there's this golden three-dimensional map that is older than any human species that we would have known, like in the times of Australopithecus, where this supposedly came from.
So,
And it's just basically for finding routes, like it's weird.
so item implementation.
The
You leave your
fountain
cell
of
phone
youth.
in like pioneer days. They find it. How much faster do they evolve? And then if they evolve faster, we're gonna evolve faster. It's gonna go down that line.
Yeah, exactly. And
What, changing course of history? What, you're gonna prevent the assassination of Abraham Lincoln? Then what happens? The whole timeline
The
is
butterfly
screwed up.
effect.
Yeah, the whole line is
And
just,
kittens just start exploding everywhere.
so focusing back on the pyramids. I don't know, time travel maybe, but I guess it would have to be really, really specific. It could be like extra, planet, maybe from another world coming into our world, leaving our world, where it doesn't affect our world directly. Maybe. It falls under that alien category again.
yeah, because it doesn't explain the spacesuit type hieroglyphics either.
Would some guy from NASA show up time travel? You guys need to do
Greetings.
this. What's up, fellow Earthlings?
Yeah.
I'm out.
Some
this.
dude went through a vortex in some other country and ends up just popping up in
Pyramid time.
Egypt.
And why them? That their ancient language too. Why the Egyptians though?
The location.
Well, it might have been. I think before that, it was probably in the Mesopotamian period. That because they created some incredible things. Like monoliths, and the temples at Akkad, or Uruk.
Yeah. So I think the reason they call it one of the wonders of the world, because I think it's gonna keep us wondering. I think we're ever gonna find out the real reason for any of that. I don't know. Maybe someday we'll have a definitive answer of this is what the pyramids were, this is why they did it, this is who helped them.
Well, if they keep it from us, why?
They
What
just
about it?
First of all, they just vanished. Who's gonna pass that information on? They're gone.
But I'm saying if they have figured it out already, why keep it from us? It's like the government keeping stuff from us. Like, freaking
What do they know that
Area
we don't?
51. What do they know that we can't know?
That's a good point. Maybe they know more about it than we're initially knowing.
There are people who know a lot more than we do. I'm sure there are people who try and keep any of it quiet, you know?
Because maybe that kind of news would shake the world. Speaking of something
And,
that
well,
shakes your world,
And they'll just sort of want the sort of monopoly on that knowledge, right?
Well,
So if they
wait,
could study something on their own without giving it to the world, they will. Whoever.
it's a good point. Capitalize on it in the end.